All right, guys, so for this video, I wanted to talk about something a little different than training, but I think it's something that a lot of people could relate to and get something out of. And as many as you may know or may not, last year at this exact time, I was attempting to do the Bighorn 100-mile race in the Bighorn Mountains of Wyoming. And I trained very hard for it. I think in May I ran like 372 miles. In the last month leading up to it, it was like 62 hours of training that month, which was overkill and not necessary. But basically, I got to the race, had a lot of things go wrong. Basically, poisoned myself with stream water, and was having to go to the bathroom constantly after that from like mile 30 onward, and bonked, ran out of fuel, and had major cramping issues, and it's just a whole host of issues. And I ended up having to drop out of the race at mile 66. So I didn't finish. And it was one of the biggest failures of my life as far as putting that much effort and that much work into something and still falling short. It was gut-wrenching to just know that, like, 100-mile training week I got up to at one point. And just so much time invested in it, and even to a degree financial stuff, investing money to travel out there and stay and do the race, and all of that out the window, and just having to learn on the fly and make all those mistakes. And I learned a ton along the way, and I count it as one of my biggest failures. And you could say it's not a failure, you learn from it, I get that, but you guys know what, you can relate to this in some regard. You can think of something where you worked so hard for it and it just didn't come to fruition. And I think a lot of times we just have to realize it's God's timing, it's God's plan for our life. I definitely got closer to the Lord after it was all said and done. I leaned into Him more. I started getting into Scripture more and realized that He has the plan, the blueprint for our lives. And, there may be things that we want to do along the way, but it may not be the right time. It may not be what He wants for us. And I look back on my powerlifting career over that course of my 20s, that 10-year period, and I was lifting some huge weights, and I got a lot of attention and internet fame from that during that period. But I had a lot of problems myself with anger, with lust, with just being lost in life. And I was far from the Lord during that time. So I look back on all that and think about all the things I learned over the course of those years compared to now, and how much closer I am to the Lord. And sometimes you have to go through the storm to get to where you need to be. Sometimes you have to go through those difficult times and learn from your past to see what's really around you, to appreciate everything, to align with the Lord, to appreciate that now, even though I'm not lifting anywhere near what I was, I have my health, I have my family, I have my wife, my daughter. I have all of these blessings around me that, we often take for granted. So looking at the race, it's bittersweet. Going back to that, it's bittersweet to not be there. And maybe in a year or 2 years, we'll run it back and it'll go differently. But it's sometimes you have to go through these moments. Just like my 20s, like it was, a lot of that is made me who I am now and made me where I am today. Being able to have this gym with my wife and be able to train people and be able to lift and have my health. But I was just in a sinful place for much of that, using foul language all the time and just putting bad things in my brain. And I feel like it's now I have that testimony to share with you guys that you can turn your life around in that sense. Because, I saw a comment on this last video and it made me think. And the comment was, I miss this Pete. Because I've been putting up some clips of some of my strongest lifts over the years. Back when I was obviously on PEDs and I was, 50 pounds heavier. And they said, I miss this version of Pete with like a cry emoji. And I totally get that, guys. I get that's what brought most of you here. That's what brought most of you to this channel. That's what you know me for, but I'm not that person anymore, and I'm okay with, I'm happy with what I accomplished, but at the same time, it was not sustainable. I was on my way to an early grave. Just as I've seen many people in the industry around me, the same thing happened with them. I've seen it with people who are my age. I don't need to go into all the deaths from the bodybuilding industry over the years, and even there's been in powerlifting. I don't need to do that, but I was not healthy. I was walking around 250 pounds with sleep apnea all the time, with high blood pressure, with jacked up blood work, high lipids, insulin. I don't know what my insulin sensitivity was back then. I didn't really take any of that seriously, but I didn't feel good. When your face is always red and you feel like you're exhausted all day long, and you just know that it's not sustainable. That's no path to go down. There was a bit of time where it was like lifting and training was all I had in life for a period of time. I pushed everything else aside. I pushed aside everything. Like, I went all in on powerlifting, on getting as strong as possible. And people do that in a lot of endeavors. Like, they do that with, an Olympic sport or whatever. But you realize how much you miss out on along the way. You realize relationships and time with loved ones isn't coming back, things of that nature. So you're not so present in the moment. You're always looking ahead. There's always something more. And it's a dangerous mindset. It's one that I sometimes still kind of get engulfed in, where I'm like, what's the next goal? What am I working towards? And I can't appreciate the present as much. So I'm trying to be more mindful of that these days. And that's what it was. It was just all training all the time. If anything interfered with training, it was like cast aside to an extent. And I just don't want to go back to that. I want to lift as heavy as I can still, like benching as much as I can, doing curls, doing bodybuilding type work, heavy split squats I really enjoy. And I want to do that within the capabilities of my 400 test level. But I just don't feel the need to put up the monstrous numbers anymore, and I'm at peace with that. I'm at peace with my back not cooperating as much as it did back then. I'm at peace with just trying to be more well-rounded and helping others get stronger, because that's still my passion, is helping others get stronger. But I want to do it in a sustainable manner. I don't want anyone to have training sessions that are 3 hours long, where it's cutting into family time and everything else. So I think we have to strike this balance. We go through different periods in life. It's like we change every 7 years. We change as a person. We have new interests. We have a new path. And I've seen the evolution of my own life, and I know that Jesus Christ, he's played the huge role in all of this. He's done everything. So I never could have foreseen myself going down this path, but it's the path I feel I need to go down, and I feel I need to minister to people to show that your life can be turned around with the Lord involved in it. So I want to throw that out there to everybody watching. Pray, read scripture, and just turn to the Lord, and He will make your path straight. It's right in the Bible. And I'm not the most well-versed Christian. I've read the Bible, but I couldn't spit out verse after verse at you. I'm still working on that. But just aligning closer with Him and praying to Him has helped tremendously. And I feel like my life's turned around. And I'm genuinely happy with the path I've gone down, even if there's been these hiccups, even if there's been these so-called failures like this race. So I know I've circled around to a few different things, but I just thought you guys could find that relatable, as far as I'm sure there's been situations in your own life where you look at it and you say, wow, that was an epic failure, so to speak. That didn't go how I wanted it to go. And there's many more I could name. I mean, I was terrible at track. I worked my butt off in high school to be a faster sprinter, and I was pretty much always the worst sprinter out there. Terrible reaction time, that thing. I shoveled the track in the middle of winter. Like, I went to our high school track, skipped the fence at 6 a.m., and I would shovel the track to clear a lane for like 100 meters. And I would do sprints and work on my technique in the off season. And I put in all this work, and I was still awful come spring. So it's not always going to go how we planned. Like, that's just another example. I tried a 50 miler when I was like 17 years old, and I failed at that. So I failed at a million things as well. So it's we just have to trust the process. We have to trust that the Lord's going to take us on the path we need to go down. And sometimes it's as simple as admitting that we're not in control. He's in control, and that will kind of guide our paths and take us where we need to be. So I'd say the biggest thing, just try to have more humility to where you can turn to him and admit that he's going to help you out, and you need him. So God bless you guys. I hope you got something out of this video. And I appreciate Jason, one of my longtime guys. He sent me this shirt. He knows I love Wyoming. He's over there in Wyoming. Feels amazing. Thank you so much, brother.